Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what do you do confidently now that made you feel weird in the past? Asking people to pay back money they borrowed. God, back in my senior year of college, I used to dread asking my roommates to give me the money for the bills. No idea why, since that's what they agreed to. I just felt like such an asshole for doing so. That's what they do. Make you feel awkward / like an asshole for asking for what's rightfully yours. Second year college, I lent a friend $100 and he kept telling me he was broke. Then I hear he'd dropped $300 on a new stereo. I never got the money back, but I learned a valuable lesson. Next step is to be confident in telling people no to lending them money. I'm not completely opposed to lending money, TBH. But something my dad used to say is, only lend money to a friend if you could never have it back and still be fine. If you can do that, there's nothing wrong with helping out a friend in need once or twice. Of course, if they don't pay you back when you ask them to, that's when you stop lending. Walking down the street, realizing I was going in the wrong direction, and making a U-turn without pretending to have forgotten something. Same here. My old tactic, since the cell phone era began, was to stop in front of some building, look around like I was waiting for someone, and pretend to call or text that person until I was certain that anyone who might have seen me was well out of distance before turning around. I just say for fuck's sake and turn around. Generally I turn around because I've forgotten something. And then everyone in the area knows my pain and gets it. Going out for a meal on my own. Thank you for this one. You reminded me of the first time I did this when I was about 20 years old. Moved into a new neighborhood and really wanted to try this cute little place down the street from my apartment, but was solo. Put it off too many nights to admit, until finally said fuck it, grabbed a book, got a table and had the 4-course prix fixe menu, and I loved it. I was super nervous and embarrassed, but ended up having a pretty damn fine time. Ends up I'm okay company. Doing things alone is the best. Was so liberating when I could finally ask my GF if she'd wanna go see a movie with me. She'd say she didn't wanna see that one, and I'd say okay, be back in a few hours. Once you work in a restaurant you realize how many people come in alone. It's no big deal. Definitely agree with this. I waitressed at breakfast and dinner places and never judged any tables for coming in alone. Doesn't make sense, I was so uncomfortable with it for so long, but it's really enjoyable. Wear a mask over my face entering a bank to get the money. Me too. Now I just need to get more confident about the gun. The attention it brings is just too much for me right now. Go out in public and be around crowds. When I first started using a wheelchair, I was hyper aware of people staring at me, avoiding getting near me, or acting strange when interacting with me. Decades of being a wheelchair user have desensitized me to all that. Hardly notice now. Thank God to hear this. Due to a procedure, I was temporarily in a wheelchair, and *boy**, do I have even more respect for anyone on wheels. I felt like I was in the biggest fishbowl just getting groceries. I was a total pariah and stared at, and exactly the same as you said, how weirded out people got talking to me. On the flip side, everybody ran to get doors for me or carry something I was perfectly capable of carrying. So glad to hear the awkwardness goes away. I had to be in a wheelchair at EDC, and I got so many more hugs and cardi than I've ever gotten before. The worst part though was the way people seemed to pity me. Don't know how many times I got told how brave I was. Buying condoms. I remember one of the first times I bought some. My girlfriend at the time wouldn't accompany me to the register because she was embarrassed. I purchased that lone item. The guy ringing me up said have a nice day. I responded, oh, I will. With a wink and a smile. He got a laugh. At the end of the day, you gotta remember you're preparing to get laid. Don't be embarrassed about that. I was dared as a teen to buy condoms. Imagine a fat kid with a bowl cut with an innocent stupid face coming in and placing a pack of condoms on the counter. I don't remember how the cashier felt, but my friends were dying from laughter. Then we all opened it and played balloon. I remember being 15, trying to buy condoms for the first time. I wasn't even sure if I legally could buy them. AOC is 16 in the UK. I was still in my school uniform and everything. My friends were giggling and both trying to make me feel better and also poking a little bit of fun. But although I was embarrassed, I told myself if you're not mature enough to buy condoms, you're not mature enough to have sex, and obviously, I wanted to have sex, so I forced myself to put on a brave, confident face and just bought them. I went to the counter by myself. Didn't get ID, so I assume it's not illegal to sell condoms to minors. The woman could probably see through my facade and just didn't say anything, and was totally normal. After my friends were like, "Gee, how did you do that? You're so brave." I couldn't do that. Lol. Lol, it's definitely not illegal to sell condoms to minors. If it was, they would just have sex anyway but then get pregnant, standards etc. Which is definitely worse than them just buying condoms under AOC. Saying how I feel. I'd usually bottle things up because I didn't want to upset anyone. No more storing up the anger till I explode. If any of you does something I don't like, you're gonna hear about it. Alright. Crowd cheers. And if you really tick me off, I'm gonna run you down with my car. Crowd gets worried. The-handed vehicular murder IO. As a 36-year-old male who's been married for 14 years and has 2 kids, I cannot stress how important this is. Not only for the sake of others you're in a relationship with, but also your own mental health. My natural reaction is to suppress any negative feelings and not talk to anyone about them. Well, 2018 was an extremely difficult year for my wife and me. We experienced a lot of unexpected loss. Estranged parent dying, family member committing suicide, losing our first dog, friends moving away, and much more. I never really processed the grief, and never discussed any of it with my wife. This made her feel distant and it plunged me into depression. Having never experienced depression before, it took a long time for me to recognize it. I've been seeing a therapist for almost a year now, and it's helping. I've found I'm at my best and my marriage is strongest when I process things verbally. My kids also benefit because they see a grown man talking about how he feels. It's equally important for my daughter as it is my son. Don't be afraid of upsetting anyone. Think about this: if they get upset because you feel a certain way, most likely, they are either too emotionally fragile, or they don't care enough to value your feelings. Those types of people should be kept at arm's length. I had a buddy ask me the other day how I'm doing after I've just had a string of close friends commit suicide. I'm like, I'm not sure. I just feel tired and ineffective. And he says, depression. I get ya. I was like, oh shit, you're right. That's what this. It's thankfully been over 10 years since I felt like this in my late teens / early 2020s. I forgot that depression isn't just sadness, it's a feeling of hopelessness and apathy. Pee without asking. U/JTL1492 Stop peeing on the floor, damn it. I came close a few times, especially when the teacher said no. Slightly unrelated, but I used to tutor kids high school and below in math. When you talk with them you realize how much your day-to-day as a kid in school legitimately feels like prison. You're told where to sit, what to do, where to look, where not to look, when to eat, when you can drink, and ask to pee. If you're caught losing your attention at all during that 8-hour block, then someone yells at you. Then when you get home you have to do work from the rest of the day. Being an adult is rough sometimes, and it's extremely difficult when you've got actual devastating problems, but for most adults it's much nicer than school was. I wouldn't trade my current life for a second. Now that you mention it, neither would I. Peeing freely, going to get a drink when you need it, no one stopping you from changing your tampons. Telling people the music I like. When I ask people what music they like, they always get super cagey. Like, I'm not going to judge you, I promise. I just want to know more about you. Some people just aren't music people, but if you come out and say yeah, I don't really care about music, whatever song is fine, it gaff people will act like you said you hate your grandma's cookies or something. It's way easier to just be evasive or give a safe answer and move on. Personally, I don't really fear being judged, I fear being pigeonholed, because even though I have really specific music tastes, I listen to a lot of other stuff, and it would take too long for me to list out everything. I have a dedicated playlist of acceptable songs that I use when playing music out loud because I am terribly self-conscious of my music taste despite it not being a big deal at all. I have this too. It's labeled sample. Socially acceptable music playlist. Swim without a shirt on. My sisters made fun of how I looked without a shirt on when I was like 12, and it stuck with me for years. Just the other day I went to the beach and realized that I finally don't care anymore. I was that way too. I finally realized that there's people not wearing a shirt that are in much worse shape than me, so I finally said screw it. As I've been growing up, I found it more uncomfortable to wear a shirt while swimming. It sort of sticks to you and it's annoying to get it off. One day, I forgot my shirt, so I just swam without it. It was great. English. I used to be terrible and my accent still sucks sometimes, but after more than 20 years of practice and a bachelor degree from an English university, now I'm quite proud to be bilingual. IMO, nothing wrong with having an accent for languages other than your mother tongue. You always have an accent, mate. Even in your maternal language.